All right, we're going to get started in literally about 30 seconds. I'm just going to give some people a chance to log on. And at the same time, I'm testing out my speakers. There we go. Speakers are working, which means we are live. Now, before we actually get started into this, I've got just a couple of quick announcements. First of all, at the end of this training, there's going to be a link that comes up on the screen on one of the slides for the presentation today. That link is something you'll want to write down so you can download the positioning cheat sheet / guide thing, where basically I take the entire training that I'm doing today in the next 60 minutes and I break it down into a 4-page document that you can keep in just for easy reference. So that's announcement number one. Announcement number two is this is the different edition of this webinar. So I've done this training. This will probably be the 6th or 7th time that I've done this, and I've been doing it basically because I'm really excited about my new leadership training program, Different, and that went live last week, which means I'm in full launch mode and some exciting stuff happening. So what that means for you is that at the end of this presentation, I'm going to tell you a little bit about that program, but I'll give you a tour of behind the scenes, what the members area looks like and all that. Now, the reason I bring that up right now is, one, if you're interested in learning more about the program, hang around till the end. There's some really exciting stuff there. Two, this presentation is not about the Different program. Like, I'm actually going to teach you something that, regardless of whether or not you invest in leadership development, at the end, you are going to learn something. You're going to walk away with some actual training. That's my commitment to you. Now, the other thing I want to bring up is I don't have a formal chat box. I'm trying something a little bit different today, and we'll see how it works. But if you look in the bottom right-hand corner of your screen, there's a blue button that says online. Now, if you're on a mobile device, which is going to be very difficult for you to watch a webinar on a mobile device, so hopefully you're not on mobile, there'll be a little blue circle. But if you actually click on that, it's going to say something like, hey there, if you need help, reply. If I'm online, I'll answer, blah, blah, blah. So if you have any questions or comments or anything that you want me to clarify at the end of the presentation, I will be doing a Q&A session. And so if you have a question 10 minutes in, just pop it into there. If you have a question 40 minutes in, pop it in there. And that's going to go directly, hopefully it's going to go directly to my phone. So if I don't answer your questions, because that obviously didn't work, but it allows me to actually track comments and questions a little bit easier while I'm in the actual presentation. So there's just a couple things. And other than that, I guess we should probably get started. We're a couple minutes in. I'm going to do everything in my power to have this entire thing done in 60 minutes, which means that the only reason this should go beyond 60 minutes is if there's extra Q&A or if I get a little bit carried away when I'm going through the members area. But regardless, there will be a replay because you have attended. So if something happens and it becomes 1 p.m. Mountain Standard Time, or if you're in Eastern, that'd be 3, and you just have to run and you miss the final few minutes, just let me know and I will get that replay to you. Other than that, we should get started. So, hey, everybody, and welcome to the webinar. This is Jamie Newman, and today I'm going to be showing you how you can use positioning to save time and increase productivity so that you can take your people to a better place. And I'm going to show you how you can do this without getting overwhelmed by lengthy to-do lists, confusing time management systems, and endless interruptions, because those are really the main culprits that keep us from improving our productivity or our time management. We either end up with monster to-do lists and spend more time writing down what needs to get done than actually getting things done, or we adopt some like super complicated time management system of prioritization, inbox zero, maybe a fancy app, time blocking, focus periods like the Pomodoro technique, rest periods, and we just end up spending more time to do the system than to do the work the system is supposed to help us do. And then finally, even when things are working, it's those interruptions. We may have our own work figured out or our own productivity figured out, but it just seems like no one else on our team does. And with those distractions, the endless interruptions and the time management systems and the stacks of to-do lists, it's overwhelming, right? Well, I'm guessing for a lot of you, this is probably not your first webinar. So the first thing that I want to mention is that if you've tried and failed to implement a time management or productivity solution before, or if you just in general struggle to get everything done that needs to get done and be a great manager at the same time, it's actually not your fault. There's a lot of information and a lot of conflicting advice out there, and it can be confusing. And many times that information overload will actually keep you from success. It's okay. So if you've been concerned in the past that you just can't succeed with manager productivity, which is not just to like manage your time well, but to also lead a highly productive and a highly successful team. So if you've been concerned that true leadership, I guess the kind that's been written about in books, like that type of leadership, if you've been concerned that that's just out of reach because of all the things that are on your plate, I want to put those fears to rest. You can do this. You just need the right person to explain it to you, and not just someone to explain another magical productivity system, but to explain specifically how managers can lead more effectively in a way that saves time and increases productivity, not just for the manager, but for the entire team, so that you can take your people to a better place. And really, personal productivity is only half the battle. In fact, there's a war out there for talent, a war to hire the best people, and a war within most of our workplaces to actually get the people we already have to bring their best each day. And so some of your competitors are offering higher wages, or they implement these elaborate employee engagement programs, almost like they want you to think that successful leadership, it must be about the perks you give your employees. And I'm here to tell you that's not the case. And I think you probably already know that. Like if you've ever thought that your competitors want you to fail, you're probably right. Your competitors do not benefit from you leading a highly engaged and highly productive team. They would rather you sit back and blame your problems on not being able to pay your employees enough, or not offering enough perks, or blaming it on being understaffed, or blaming your problems on this entitled, in air quotes, generation of lazy workers. Because as long as you believe that success is outside of your control, you won't change. And so the difference with what I do is that I actually care about your success and truly want to see you leading your team more effectively, positioned, as we're going to talk about today, in a place where you can save time, increase productivity, and then actually take your people to a better place. That's what we're here for today. I know that you have a dream to do meaningful work and to make an impact on the people you lead beyond the paycheck you receive every week or 2 weeks. And I want to show you how you can actually find the time and find the clarity to make that happen during today's webinar. Now, my goal for this presentation is to help two types of people, and those people are managers and people responsible for managers. So for those of you who are managers watching this right now, whether you're a first-time manager or an experienced manager, whether you're in sales or HR or operations, project management, it doesn't matter. My goal is that you will get a new approach to managing your team, an approach that can actually save you time and increase both your productivity and your team's productivity, because then you can ultimately achieve whatever flag you imagine on this metaphorical mountain of success that you're looking at right now. And for those of you who are responsible for other managers, meaning that you are within HR or senior leadership or talent management, or you're the business owner, well, first of all, you're a manager, so this will help you, but you're also going to get a simple solution to help your managers lead more effective and productive teams. Because when that happens, you know that your business will grow, as will your opportunities for personal success and the success of the people you support and are responsible for leading. So ultimately, as I've already said, it's about getting to the top of that mountain, whatever that mountain is for you, in terms of your success and your team's success. And my goal today is to give you a strategy that you can implement to help you get there and help your team get there. Sound good? All right. So that's only actually half the goal, because the other half involves me actually delivering on that promise. And in order to do that, I'm going to show you that the only way for you to save time and increase productivity as a manager is through positioning. And it's my goal to show you that the only way for you to master positioning is through my different shoulder-to-shoulder leadership development program. And I know what you might be thinking right away here. That's pretty bold, Jamie. And you're right. These are bold statements I'm making. I'm saying that you need to learn positioning, which I'll teach you today. And then I'm saying that if you want to master it, and if you want to take control of your time and become a more effective leader for your team, I've developed a program, the only one that I know of, that actually teaches this positioning. So I've got a big task ahead of me, but I'm ready to go. So without further ado, let's jump in. Now, to start off, I'm sure you might be wondering, especially if you're someone who's just newly connected with me, you might be wondering who is this guy that's talking to you right now, and what makes him qualified to make these bold statements. Well, as you know, my name is Jamie Newman, and although I probably look young to you, I've been working with and consulting with managers for almost a decade now. Today, I'm the founder of yourbestmanager.com and the host of the Your Best Manager podcast, where I've been privileged to have interviewed some of the world's top leadership experts, including well known names like Howard Behar, retired president of Starbucks, Pernilla Spears Lopez, former global chief HR officer for IKEA and former CEO for IKEA North America, and Lee Cockerell, former executive vice president of Walt Disney World, among others, including Peter Docker from Simon Sinek's Start With Why team, Lolly Daskal, who the Huffington Post has referred to as the most inspirational woman in the world, Tanveer Naseer, who I think is actually the lone Canadian on Inc. magazine's global list of top 100 leadership and management experts, and many, many, many more. And the reason I'm sharing this is it's not to brag. It's actually just to tell you that the stuff I'll be sharing today isn't just stuff I've made up or experienced, but this is coming from studying with and chatting with the top authorities when it comes to people management. Now, prior to me launching Your Best Manager, I spent over 8 years in the recruiting and consulting industry, where I had the opportunity to work with hundreds of managers, from frontline supervisors to senior executives at hundreds of companies, from mid-market firms to small businesses to Fortune 100 and 500 companies. And over those 8 years, that experience includes time spent consulting in manufacturing, logistics, accounting, finance, professional services, municipal engineering, and architecture, and about 4 years dedicated to the oil and gas and power industry here in Alberta. And the cool thing about that experience is that through helping these managers and these companies to recruit, hire, performance manage, retain, engage, I've been exposed to probably every management style and every company culture you could imagine, which means I've seen what works and I've seen what doesn't work. And then personally, I've built a really successful career as a consultant and a manager myself, starting like many of you probably did, by being a terrible boss. I thought I was a really good manager. I just got a rude awakening about 9 months into my career as a first-time manager, when the 3 employees that were on my team when I got promoted had all left for various reasons that you could easily point back to me being a bad boss. Fortunately, though, what I'm going to talk about today, this idea of positioning, which is something I didn't learn on my own, something I was shown. Well, once I figured out that it worked, which was, of course, after my first 9 months in management didn't go as planned, well, then things turned around almost just as quickly. In fact, at the end of my first year, I was recognized as the top rookie account manager in Canada. The year after that, I was recognized as the top account manager for our Alberta operation. And the year after that, my team and I hit the pinnacle sales goal by bringing in over $1 million in gross profit. And the pictures that you see right now are from the first trip that my wife and I got to go on as a result of that accomplishment, which, as a side note, an incredible experience and such a privilege and honor to work for a company that actually recognized and rewarded hard work. But that's beside the point. I got to say this again, I'm not sharing these things to brag. This is the most uncomfortable I'll be on this entire web class, because I don't like talking about myself, and I don't want to try and share this whole rags to riches story, because it's not about that. I share these things because I want you to know this works. I've seen it. I've experienced it. I've failed trying other things. And now I continue to have this stuff backed up by some of the top minds in leadership. And that's what gives me confidence to share this with you today. But why don't I start at the beginning, and I'll tell you where this idea of positioning actually came from. Now, to give some context to the story, I've put up 2 photos here. The first one is a picture of me at the end of my account manager training sometime in 2011. And if you watched a 3-part video series I put together a little bit ago, you'll probably remember me telling you that at this point in time, 2011, the picture on your left, this was nice guy Jamie. I didn't want to hurt people's feelings, which meant that I struggled to properly lead my team. And despite my good intentions, at this point in time, I was a failing manager. But it's the second photo, the one on the right, that really puts it in perspective for me. This is a photo of my family last summer. That's my wife, Christina, and my 2 boys, Isaac on the left, who's 1.5 years now, and Jacob on the right, who is 4 now. And I have no idea who that guy is there in the back photobombing us, but it was a good picture of our family. So that's the one we kept. Anyway, in 2011, the picture on the left, I didn't have that family. I wanted it. I just didn't have it. I was married. I didn't have kids. And I wanted to be able to get to a spot financially where we could afford to have kids, where I could provide for a family. And again, in 2011, I was a failing manager. But I wasn't just a failing manager. I was a failing manager in a sales environment, which meant that I wasn't making very much money at all because my paycheck was dependent on commission. And it's very hard to earn commission without a well-functioning team. So at this point, we're in debt, and kids just was not like a wise decision, right? And I bring up this to share that for me, at this point in time as a manager, change was important. And I don't know where you're at, but change may be important for you right now for probably other reasons than what I was going through. But for me, change was important. Success was important. Being able to save time, increase productivity, and lead more effectively, that was something that was important to me, not just because it would be good for the company I was working for, and not just because I wanted to be rich one day, because it's not about the money, and everyone has different opportunities based on their profession. But I wanted this because success would lead to important things for me personally. And that's a key thing to remember as a leader when you're leading your people, but we'll get back to that a little bit later. And so, again, that 3-part series that I had mentioned, if you saw it, which you don't need to see it, but if you saw that, you can probably understand why the concepts that I introduced there, shoulder-to-shoulder leadership and positioning, which I'll explain both in detail today, you can probably understand why those were such significant discoveries for me. And again, to go back and just summarize that story. So I had a new client relationship. And this is back in that 2011, 2012 area. And I had hired 4 or 5 employees for this new client. And in particular, it wasn't really a client. It was one manager at a client in particular. And every time I asked his current employees and the new employees that I had helped him hire, so every time I got together with his team, which was on a regular basis, every time I asked them for feedback on how their manager could improve, all I heard was how great he was. And as I dug in further, every person, like everyone I talked to said the same thing. They said the only way for their manager to get better, for this guy to get better, was if they got better first. All they wanted to do was be better employees so that they could help their manager succeed. They said he wasn't just a good boss, he was different. Like, can you believe that? That's when it hit me. If I wanted to build a team that desired to, that were passionate about, that were excited to come in to work every day and grow and perform, if I wanted to take my people someplace better, and if I wanted to grow my career and accomplish some things that were personally important to me, like being financially capable of starting a family, I didn't need to just work harder or just become a better manager. I needed to be different. And you want to know what that manager did, my new client? Do you want to know what he did that was different? Well, he obviously understood positioning. That's what we're talking about today. But that didn't hit me right away. He was a shoulder-to-shoulder leader, meaning that he would actually work in a way where he could literally rub shoulders with his employees. He'd pull up a chair beside them. He'd come into the office early with them. He'd work late with them. He'd find opportunities to jump in and coach and then jump out. And you know what this did? It built relationships. It showed his people the right way to act and the right way to do things. It gave his people a voice. It inspired performance. It saved time. It saved time. It reduced stress and it delivered results. It was then that I started studying how great managers operated different. It was then that I started reading more books, asking questions, asking for feedback, and then actually listening to that feedback. That's important because I wanted to be a different kind of manager too. And so that's what I did. I studied and started implementing this idea of shoulder-to-shoulder leadership. But let's be real. Sure, I had this epiphany, but I mean, it didn't translate into overnight success. Rarely does that happen. Even though I knew that the key to success, the key to operating different, was this thing called shoulder-to-shoulder leadership, I didn't know how to execute it properly. And so my performance actually fell at first. I couldn't keep up. I became overwhelmed. I was trying to do so much, but it just didn't seem like there was enough time in the day. But here's what I had going for me. I was now paying attention to the things that great managers did that were different. And specifically, I remember watching my vice president at the time come in for an office visit one week, and he seemed to just be so prepared, so ready. He seemed to be constantly in the right place at the right time with the right information. He was consistently in position. And so while I was facing this big wall in front of me, you got failure on one side, success on the other, I made a commitment to embrace shoulder-to-shoulder leadership, and I started learning positioning. And that's when everything changed for me. The next year, my team, that's when we brought in $1 million in gross profit. And we did it the right way, the honest way. We did it together. Like everything changed because I trusted that operating differently could inspire my team to help me pull off something that I wasn't even sure was possible. I operated different. I led shoulder to shoulder and I mastered positioning. Now, most of you are probably not in the recruiting and consulting business, but the idea of being in position has nothing to do with industry or market or business or team. So the question is, what is positioning? Well, it's kind of like being a goaltender in a hockey game. Traditional management is very reactive. Everything's great until it's not, and then react. So traditional management would be like the goalie sitting on the bench until the other team touches the puck and then jumping on the ice to try and make the save. However, the best goaltenders get in position first. They know the angles. They're aware of the space they have in front of the net. They follow the play, and their number one priority is to be in position. You take a terrible goaltender and put him or her in position, and they will make the save more often than a great goaltender out of position. Or it's also kind of like playing baseball. If you're an outfielder, you have to do a few more things than simply be able to catch the ball and read the trajectory of the ball off the bat. Those are important, but you need a little bit more. You need to be in the right position before each play. And oftentimes, this is really interesting. Oftentimes, if you look closely, outfielders will pull out these little cards out of their back pocket that actually tells them where to stand on the field based on who is batting so that they can be in the best position possible to catch the ball. You see, that's positioning. It's being in the right place at the right time with the right information. But to go back to what I saw with my vice president, he didn't just plan out his day with who he wanted to talk with and when. He was prepared and constantly in position because of the information he had with him. And this looks different for each manager in each company and in each industry. But for him, it was a folder with a few sheets of paper inside. And now with technology changes, it's his laptop with a whole bunch of reporting tools. But at the time, it was a folder with a few sheets of paper inside. He had everything he needed with him so that no matter what came up, he was ready and in position. With all that said, 22 minutes of a webinar leading up to this, it's time to get into the heart of the training today, as I'm going to walk through 3 secrets of positioning. We got secret number 1, positioning. How to get more done in less time and lead a more productive team by simply being in position. Secret number 2, preparation. How spending just 10 minutes with the right information can position you to more effectively lead your team. And performance. Secret number 3. How to stay in position, keep focus, and eliminate distractions while improving employee performance. And so obviously we'll start with secret number 1, get more done, less time, lead a more productive team by simply being in position. And I'm going to tell you a story for this, and I'm going to go back to my McDonald's days. And so when I worked at McDonald's, which was in high school for about 5 years, our general manager was an expert at positioning. He had this 2 foot by 2 foot spot in the store where he would stand anytime he ran a shift. It was right in between the lobby counter and the drive-through window, and he would stand facing the back grill. So he was at that red X you see on your screen. This physical position allowed him the ability to see everything that was going on in the store. And what he would do is he would look for opportunities to jump in, coach hands-on or shoulder to shoulder, and then he would jump back to his spot. Quick little bursts, in and then out, always back to his spot. From that position, he could see challenges before they became problems. And by remaining focused on that 2 foot by 2 foot red X that you're looking at, he was able to quickly help out in an area without getting tied down because he wasn't focused on that area. He was focused on his positioning. He'd hop in, show how, not tell how, and then he'd say to the person, okay, now you do it, you try. And then he would jump back out over and over again. It didn't matter if it was Saturday lunch rush on a long weekend or not. Every shift ran smooth. And because he was in position, more customers were served faster. The crew worked with confidence. And as a result, the store often ran effortlessly, which afforded him the ability to sometimes start his administrative work early. It afforded him the ability to delegate additional responsibilities to the crew that were working so that they could get ahead for the next shift. It allowed him the flexibility to leave on time. How many of you watching this would just like to leave work on time? Like, how powerful is that? Positioning saved him time and made him more productive. But that's only half the story. This general manager and all the managers, and if you've worked at a McDonald's before, probably any restaurant, you know this. They had these shift prep checklists because getting in position isn't simply about standing in the right spot. It's about being ready. It's about having everything you need at your fingertips. At McDonald's, it was about knowing the schedule. It was about knowing the inventory levels. It was about having a plan ahead of time. As I said before, positioning is about being in the right place at the right time with the right information. My general manager managed his shifts from the right place, and he looked for opportunities to jump into other positions at the right time on the front lines, getting his hands dirty side by side, shoulder to shoulder. But he also had the right information ahead of time. He was ready. Now, in my corporate job, this obviously looked different. I was in an office, not a restaurant. And so the information I needed was different. The preparation was different, and my physical positioning was different. So there were two specific changes that I want to highlight really, really quickly. First of all, I would dedicate a certain amount of time to working at another desk right beside my team instead of in my office so that I could watch and listen to the recruiters on my team execute their responsibilities. That desk was my red X. It was my vantage point. And this allowed me the environment to coach in real time. And similar to my McDonald's general manager, I could then jump in and jump out of things like customer calls, resume reviews, candidate sourcing strategies. And additionally, my team could also watch me work and learn from my example. The other thing that I would do is I would join my team on candidate interviews. I didn't have to do this, but I wanted to lead different. I wanted to be shoulder to shoulder. And so I knew that by positioning myself with my team, we could accomplish more. Before I did this, I would have to assume that the recruiters on my team were conducting effective interviews and getting all the information I needed to make good decisions. When I did it with them, I got to watch and participate and coach and show how versus tell how. And although this was a short-term sacrifice of time, long-term, this allowed me to ensure my people were trained properly and quickly so that they could perform more and more independently. And then I could base my decisions off of, this thing called trust instead of assumptions, which resulted in higher quality work, increased productivity, and time saved. But you're probably thinking, aren't you oversimplifying leadership right now, Jamie? It can't possibly be as easy as just being prepared and being in the right spot. Don't you actually need to have coaching skills and technical skills and people skills and all that? So first of all, this is simple, but it's not easy. And yes, you need to still know the fundamentals of management in order to actually perform your job well. But this goes back to my goalie analogy. You take a terrible goalie and you put them in the right position, and they're more likely to make the save than the best goaltender out of position. This is not a cure for bad management. It's an approach that increases your effectiveness because once you're in position, you can save time and increase productivity from where you are at today. Whether you're the most amazing boss in the world or you're a first-time manager trying to figure out things for the first time in your life, this is about improvement from where you're at. It's not about becoming great instantly or overnight. Everything else relating to leadership and management is built upon this concept. You get in position first, you master your skills second. Of course, you might also be thinking, hey, this sounds cool, but what you're talking about isn't attainable. You can't always be in the right place at the right time because you can't predict the future. And you're right, you can't predict the future, but you can position yourself where you have the best vantage point of your business, like my McDonald's general manager. And you can position yourself where you are most likely to find opportunities to lead more effectively, just like the outfielder who can't predict where the ball is going to be hit in the field, but through preparation can position himself in the best possible position to field the ball. The point is that being in position will help you get more done in less time, and it'll help you lead a more productive and effective team. And now that I've shown you the basics of how positioning works, let's now talk about how to actually get in position, because the follow-up question here has to be, okay, positioning sounds great, but I don't understand how it's going to work in my business or how to actually get into this ideal spot. Well, enter secret number 2, preparation. How spending just 10 minutes with the right information can position you to most effectively lead your team. And I'm going to start off here by giving a bunch of examples of what this looks like in different places, because honestly, this concept of positioning, which it's not identical in all situations and businesses, it works everywhere. And you can customize this philosophy and these concepts to your team in your line of work in your industry. So we've got a construction manager who spends 10 minutes preparing for his or her day and then walks onto the construction site ready, likely with a clipboard or a folder in hand that has everything he or she needs to remain in position, regardless of where the work is being done. Or a production manager who sets up his office to visually remind him of what information is critical to running his team. He reviews it before he goes out onto the plant floor, and he keeps this information in his back pocket, literally. And each day he spends 10 minutes with this information, finding clarity for the challenges of the day and committing to memory the things that do not change from day to day. Or the network marketer, the home businessman or the home businesswoman, or the remote leader who sets up her office in a way that the most critical information is within reach and within sight. She begins each day spending 10 minutes reviewing that information and reviewing what needs to get done from her office. And from her office, every phone call or every video conference call is conducted from a completely prepared space, from a ready for anything position. Or the corporate manager who sets up his or her office the same way, but also requests that the employees post visual reminders and permanent information at their desks as well. So that whether this manager is in his office preparing for the day or pulling up a chair beside his people, he has complete access to everything he needs to manage effectively, allowing him to be in position constantly as he leads shoulder to shoulder. Or the salesperson who's in and out of the office, on the road, and living a relatively unpredictable schedule. She spends just 10 minutes reviewing what's important and then compiles everything needed into a folder that she carries with her everywhere she goes. Just like my VP, she can remain in position at all times so that she's able to respond to whatever comes her way, and she can lead shoulder to shoulder no matter where she is. Now, of course, you must be wondering, what exactly is this information? So make sure you've got a pen and paper handy because you're going to want to write this down. There are 6 critical pieces of information that you need at all times in order to be in position and effectively lead your team. If you have easy access to these 6 items, you can lead an effective team, you can save time, and you can increase productivity, not just your own, but your entire team's. So we've got, and don't worry, these will be up for a while, but last week's performance, your operating rhythm, your team's goals, your message, your daily objectives, and your report card. And we're going to start with last week's performance. No matter how performance is measured in your business, you need to understand where you and your team were last week in order to move forward this week. So for some managers, this is going to be actual numbers, data. For others, this may be notes or observations that you make. The point is that if you have access to last week's performance information, you can reference this information to help you coach your people. So if Sally made 35 phone calls last week, you can encourage her to make 36 this week. Or if Johnny struggled with attendance last week, you can keep it top of mind this week. Or if Cindy did some amazing things with your customers last week, you can remind her of what she is capable of this week. If Tim fell behind on his reporting and paperwork last week, you can help him stay focused this week. Next, we have your operating rhythm. Now, you might have heard of something like this before, but this is your ideal schedule. You create this document or this type of document in advance, but essentially what you are doing is you are determining how to spend your time to be most effective before you actually get onto the battlefield. It's not about perfection. It's not about being overstructured. It's about understanding where you need to be so that instead of reacting to your day, you can power through your day. You can constantly look ahead to plan your time and stay on schedule. It's going to be very important when we get to secret number 3. Next, we have your team's goals. Do you want to talk about employee engagement and team performance for a minute? I'm going to hit this one hard when we get to secret number 3. But if you can help your employees, listen to this. If you can help your employees find the correlation between performance at work and personal achievement, you can lead a productive and motivated team. When you have your goals and your employees' goals with you at all times, you can be in position to remind your people of what they're working toward at all times and actually help them achieve meaningful, important things through the time spent working with you. Next, we have your message. This one's simple. Drive one message each week. Actually, drive one message total. Don't even change them week to week. Pick one main thing that is the thing for you and your team. Write it down and carry it with you. This is your rally cry for your team. This is your identity, your vision, your mission. This is the focal point of everything you do. When you open up your folder or look down at your clipboard or look up from your desk or sit down with your team, this message is there reminding you and your people where you're headed and what's the main thing. Next, your daily objectives. Now, you can't really eliminate to-do lists, but you can simplify. Each day, you should have one main objective, really, and one accomplishment you're pursuing. But I'm going to recommend you write down 3 objectives. So 3 things that if you accomplish them today, you will be successful. There may be 20 things that you need to do, but if you can get it down to just, or select or highlight just 3 things that you must get done each day that are going to make a significant impact, that's what you write down. That's what you carry with you. And then finally, we've got your report card. This starts out blank each day, but your goal is to fill it in as the day goes by. This is about getting better. When you receive feedback, you write it down. When you see an opportunity to do better next time, you write it down. If you have all 6 pieces, if you have these 6 pieces of information with you, and to put this together costs a very little time up front. And so each day, what you do is you just spend 10 minutes reviewing all of this information, 10 minutes to write down your 3 daily objectives, really. That's it. If you can do that, all this training kind of hinges here. If you can do that, then you can walk into wherever you need to be ready and in position to lead more effectively. And since you have access to this arsenal of coaching material or reminders or impactful information or whatever you want to call it, if you have the right information, you can then coach in real time, increase your productivity and your team's productivity. And ultimately, guess what? You can save time. But you're probably thinking, this sounds like a lot of work and a lot of paperwork to keep with me or in front of me. It's not. It sounds like a lot, but most of this information you should already have. And if you don't, it doesn't take long to create. Yes, goal setting can cost a bit of time, but that is a fundamental skill you need to learn and teach your employees how to do if you want to be a leader. So let's say you have goals already set and you are taking notes during each week on performance, or you have a report that you can run each week that'll give you metrics. You can really compile all this information each Monday morning or whenever your work week starts in literally 10 minutes. The goals, the operating rhythm, the message, those things aren't likely to change much week to week. In fact, they shouldn't change very often at all. And of course, your report card starts out blank each week. So the bulk of the time commitment is setting your daily objectives, which instead of doing the massive to-do list that I'm sure you're already doing, and you can still do those if you want. I'm not saying to-do lists are bad. What I'm saying is you're picking just 3 main things. That's it. 10 minutes and you're ready to go. But you might also be thinking, there's more to my job than what you've mentioned. This wouldn't be enough for me. And you're probably right. I don't know your business, but there are certain jobs that will require a few things to be added. Like I mentioned with my story about McDonald's, there's a shift prep checklist that gets completed every day before every shift. You have to do that anyway. So just add it to your clipboard or your folder or your file system or wherever, and then you're ready to go. At the end of the day, the point I'm making is that spending 10 minutes with the right information will position you, regardless of industry, market, business, company, team, doesn't matter. It will position you to lead your team more effectively. And so now that I've shown you how positioning works and how you can apply it to any business so that you can save time and increase productivity, we have to address the biggest culprit of effective leadership and time management. The biggest thing that holds people back: distractions. Because you must be thinking, okay, great, positioning sounds wonderful, and I can see how this could adapt to my team or my business, but how on earth do I execute on this consistently? With all the interruptions and distractions throughout the day, the fires I have to put out, the fluctuations in business, the customer demands. In a perfect world, Jamie, this sounds great, but my world is not perfect, and I only have so much control over what happens. I get it, which is why I'm going to share with you secret number 3. How to stay in position, keep focus, and eliminate distractions while at the same time improving employee performance. And this comes down to 2 of the items I just mentioned in secret number 2, your operating rhythm and your team's goals. Now, I'm a big fan of managers having an open door policy, creating an environment where managers are approachable and a culture where no question is off the table and everyone has a voice. I find that type of culture, that type of environment to be extremely healthy. However, an open door policy doesn't always mean that the door to your office must remain open at all times. This is something I've struggled with personally. In an effort to create this type of open culture, I made myself always available, which meant that anytime someone needed something, I was available. But then there's this other extreme, which may be less common, not sure, but it's just as dangerous. Now, I'm not sure if you've heard of the book, The 4 Hour Work Week, or not, but it's a bestseller by author Tim Ferriss. And in his book, one of the things he talks about is restricting the periods of time you allow yourself to check email. In fact, his idea of paradise is only needing to check email once per day. It's definitely an extreme measure, but the promise of freedom is really inviting, isn't it? Well, the only issue there is his business is designed differently than a lot of other businesses. You can't take it literally. But I'll never forget the time I received an auto response from a prospective client I had. I'd sent an email over, and I don't remember what it was about, but I received an auto response from him stating that he only checks his email twice per day. He checks it at, I think it was 11 a.m. and then again at 4 p.m. And his auto response was meant to apologize for what may seem like a lack of responsiveness. He wanted me to know my email was important. He just wouldn't see it right away. Fair enough. But the restrictive access, the restrictive nature of not being able to reach him whenever I wanted to, or not feeling like I had access to him, actually made me less likely to want to work with him. Because I'd always feel like I was interrupting. Because even if I reached out to him at exactly 11 a.m. or exactly 4 p.m., I knew he'd be checking his email. So even that would be a bad time. So again, on the one hand, you've got this extreme open door policy, which invites a multitude of distractions. And then on the other hand, you've got an extremely restrictive structure that actually deters people from wanting to reach out to you. And you don't want to create separation between you and your team as a leader. The obvious answer is to find a balance. However, I do think it's a little bit more common for people to err on the open door side of things like I did, which then lends itself to inconsistency about when are you actually available and when are you not. Because there have been many times where I've had to like physically and verbally shoot people out of my office because I just don't have time to deal with them. And they then walk away feeling like intruders. And at the same time, I feel distracted still. This is where shoulder-to-shoulder leadership comes in. Shoulder-to-shoulder leadership is not about being shoulder-to-shoulder with your employees every second of every day. It's about structuring time in with your people. It's about jumping in and then jumping out. It's about finding periods of time throughout your day or week to be fully engaged, fully immersed with your team and completely available, and then jumping out to be completely unavailable, focused on your solo tasks. This is only possible through optimizing your schedule and creating an ideal operating rhythm. Without a consistent operating rhythm, you will find that your day is structured in response to events, not in preparation for events. And your responsiveness will in turn impact when you are actually available and when you are unavailable, which means your employees won't know when they can and cannot bug you, which means they will probably bug you, interrupt you, and distract you. But if your schedule is consistent, not necessarily the same time every day, but if your actions, your positioning looks consistent, your team can learn that when you are with them, fully engaged, you are available. And when you're not, you're not. It's just about being intentional in terms of how you spend your time. As a salesperson, for me personally, it was important that I had times of undistracted cold calling. I hated it. I hate cold calling, but nonetheless, it worked. Every day I would have an hour or two where my entire team knew not to bug me. It was my time to execute on my 2 to 3 objectives for the day. And then other times I was out in the main office working at a desk side by side or on the road with my cell phone available and my calendar updated so that my team knew where I was at all times. This is not rocket science. It requires upfront planning though. It's not reactive, it's proactive. But that's only part of the problem. The other problem is the cause of the distractions themselves. The fires, the last minute changes, the issues that come up regardless of what your schedule says. All of these distractions are performance issues with your team. Let me say that again. All of these distractions are performance issues with your team. Because if your team was performing at a high level, then the only time you should be interrupted is for actual emergencies. Now, I remember interviewing a guest on my podcast his father ran a grocery store, and he made the decision to run that store without owning a cell phone. His philosophy was, if I'm accessible, the people will always take advantage of me. But if it's difficult to reach me, if it's inconvenient, then they're only going to try if there's a real problem. Now, he always made sure people knew how to reach him, but it wasn't easy. It wasn't convenient. Of course, the next question is, well, how do you get there? How do you get to a place where you're not just being more trusting? I mean, trust is good, but how do you get to a point where your people are capable enough to be trusted? How do you get to a point where you can feel comfortable leaving them alone and comfortable not being available? That's the long-term gains of shoulder-to-shoulder leadership. That's the long-term gains of operating different and operating in position. The method of leading your team shoulder to shoulder isn't just about where you stand or sit, it's about how you coach. And if you are coaching properly, you will be following a learn, shadow, do, teach method, where you start with the theory, you start with the why and the how, the intellectual, and then you have them shadow you do the task properly, and then they try it under your supervision. And finally, they get to a point where they could literally teach it back to you, and that's when training is complete. When you lead shoulder to shoulder like that, when that's your philosophy toward coaching and training and teaching, that's when performance improves rapidly. But you have to be operating in position so that you can actually afford the time to do that. I mentioned earlier that I really, really want to hammer home goal setting. And so I've got a cheesy photo here to symbolize a team that's just way too excited to be at work. But that's okay. This is the team we all want with big smiles, and looks like there's no diversity and inclusion there. But anyway, here's the point. It does not matter how great of a teacher or trainer or coach or leader or manager you are, or you think you are. If your people do not want to perform, they're going to struggle, and you will struggle as a result. There are only 3 reasons why employees underperform. They don't know, so teach them. They aren't capable, so teach them or release them, or they don't care. And that last one is the most damaging, because when people don't care, they often don't know. And when people don't care, they often look like they aren't capable. And when people don't care, they'd rather you fix the mistakes and put out the fires. If you want to save time and increase productivity and remove these distractions that I relate back to poor performance, then you have to engage and motivate your staff. And I say this all the time, but you will always struggle with employee motivation if your people cannot find the correlation between performance at work and personal achievement. But what if? What if you and your team set goals personally and professionally? What if you spent time to help them find that correlation between how much effort they put into work and what they get out of it? And what if you were in position, constantly coaching through refocusing your people on what was most important? What if? This webinar is about one thing: getting more done in less time, being more productive, managing your team more effectively so that you can get you and your people to the top of that success mountain, that better place I referenced earlier. This entire thing that I'm talking about today, it hinges on goal setting. Because it doesn't matter how organized you get, it doesn't matter how hard you work at time management. If your people are unproductive and do not perform at a high level, then you are unproductive and you won't perform at a high level. That's why time management and productivity for managers is different than what you may have been taught before, because achieving these things comes down to your ability to effectively lead your people. And I'm telling you that in order to effectively lead your people, you can't just be better, you need to be different. And you can't just be quirky different. You need to operate different by doing what most managers don't do and won't do, by getting your hands dirty and coaching from the front lines. And the way that you do that without going insane or missing your own deadlines is through getting into position where you are going to be most effective. But I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, this is awesome. I'm so excited to implement this. Well, sure, you might be thinking that. I hope you're thinking that. But you might also be thinking that this sounds like a lot of work and it sounds like difficult change. And you're right. I'm not here telling you it's easy. I'm here telling you it's simple and sharing what actually works. Shoulder to shoulder leadership works. And by committing to an operating rhythm and by keeping my team's goals top of mind, I can then stay in position, keep focused, and eliminate unnecessary distractions. So let me ask you, if you made the decision to position yourself where you can most effectively lead your team, like I explained in secret number 1, and if you had easy access to the information I described in secret number 2, which included last week's performance, your operating rhythm, your team's goals, your message, your 3 daily objectives, and your report card, if you had that information with you, and like I explained in secret number 3, if you structured your operating rhythm in a way that gave you time shoulder to shoulder with your team, and you kept your team's goals top of mind while you coached, and it gave you time away from your team to actually get your own work done, If you did all of these things, here's the question: could you be successful? All right, rhetorical question here, and you're welcome to put this in the little comment thing. But how many of you feel like this little girl right now? We've covered so much, and while it's exciting, it could be a little bit overwhelming. You want to go outside and play in the sprinkler, and you get blasted. And anyway, funny picture. I've seen this actually on a ton of presentations, and I decided to steal it and use it for myself. But I just want to remind you really quickly that I've taken all the core points from today's presentation and I've put together a PDF download cheat sheet / guide that I'll have available for you to download. There's going to be a link at the end of this presentation. So make sure you stay tuned until the end. In fact, I don't want you to go anywhere because I recognize that I just spent the last, 51 minutes teaching you how great positioning is. But I'd be leaving you hanging if I didn't share with you an offer I've put together to actually help you implement this. Because as I said, it's simple, not easy. So if it's all right with you, I'm going to spend the next 10 to 15 minutes going over a very special offer I've created to help you implement this best practice and become a true shoulder-to-shoulder leader. Welcome to Different. It's an 8-week shoulder-to-shoulder leadership development program that you get lifetime access to, where I will actually help you implement what we talked about today, where I'll teach you how to get in position to lead most effectively. And the best part is that through this program, you can learn on your own time with complete flexibility because the bulk of this content is delivered through e-learning, meaning you get access to video lectures that walk you through how to become a shoulder-to-shoulder leader, plus worksheets, guides, templates, activities, coaching, and the opportunity to collaborate with other managers who are on the same journey as you are, all accessible to you on your terms according to your own schedule and availability. You don't need a plane ticket. You don't need a hotel room. You don't need to take time off work. You don't need to go anywhere, and you're not going to be spending thousands and thousands of dollars. You get complete virtual access to everything, including me, which I'll talk about in a second. And so I'm just going to breeze through this real quick. But week 1, we talk about your team, your goals. This is the most exciting part because it's all about understanding your business and where you actually want to go. Week number 2 is about building vision, setting a team mission and a team identity. It's about getting buy-in for a brighter future and actually knowing where you're going. Week 3 is about how you can build trust and credibility and loyalty with your team fast. Week 4 is about how to motivate and inspire engagement and high performance through goal setting with your team. Week 5 is about positioning and developing your ideal operating rhythm so that the changes you make become habits and the change you see is consistent and sustainable. Week 6 is about the practical application of shoulder-to-shoulder leadership, so things like delegation and task-based leadership or management, performance management, one-on-ones, meetings, all that stuff. Week 7 is about, I'm going to say, navigating internal politics. It's about the relationship with your bosses, your leaders, as well as your partners internally and externally. Now, the reason I say network is because if you're a business owner, you don't have a boss. And so it'd be about navigating the politics of your industry and creating opportunities for you and your business. And then week number 8 is about moving forward. It's about taking that next step in your career and business. It's about turning this into consistency. It's about actually achieving those long-term results that you're looking for. And then you get a certificate of completion for becoming a shoulder-to-shoulder leader. And all of this ends up building out a 90-day execution plan for you, which may sound kind of crazy and overwhelming right now, but it's really, really cool. So that you walk out of this program 2/3 of the way toward your better place, which is super cool. And just like I said at the beginning of the presentation, this program is for managers and people responsible for managers. It's designed to help busy managers build and lead fully engaged teams so they can save time, reduce stress, increase productivity, and grow their careers and the careers of the people they lead. And this is for people responsible for managers because this is a great program to give to the managers in your organization to help them lead more effectively, improve retention, increase employee engagement, and boost productivity and performance. The casualties of bad management are real. I'm going to go on a rant for a second, but stats show that 70% of workers are disengaged. And the biggest impact to employee engagement is leadership development. Because managers who perform better and who are successful are more likely to be engaged. And people who work for bosses who help them uncover and reach their potential, do meaningful work, achieve personal and professional goals, they become more engaged as well. But you might be thinking, I couldn't get started with this because I can't possibly see online learning working for me or my team. And I recognize that you may not have used a program like this in the past, but this isn't about the vehicle. It's about the results. I created this program to be accessible for busy managers. You will be accessing a new video lecture each week plus related assignments, but this isn't independent learning. The best form of development comes from accountability and support. And I've built that into the program for all 8 weeks, and for the entire lifetime of the program, which is lifetime until something goes terribly wrong and the internet crashes sometime in the future. And of course, you might also be thinking, wait a minute, I've never heard of this program before. Shouldn't I look for training from a brand name I recognize? And my answer would be yes and no. There are some great branded leadership development programs out there that I've participated in and that I recommend. But making a decision to invest in leadership development and leadership coaching isn't about a brand name. It's about the results first and foremost. And it's about value. It's about what are you getting out of the program? That's how I've designed different. It's about results. And that's why it begins with setting personal goals for the 8 weeks and ends with measuring those results and ends with an actual 90-day plan so you can track and measure everything every 30 days. It's incredible. But as I've said, I've also designed it for accessibility and value. It's accessible because it's delivered via online learning, but it's valuable because unlike most online programs, you actually get the support and the coaching you need to apply what you learn. This isn't just a bunch of modules in a workbook slapped together by a branded company. This is active learning with an instructor, me, for 8 weeks and, well, lifetime after that. So the first thing I want to share is that by registering, you get complete access to the 8-week development program with 8 video lectures, supporting training, activities, assignments, quizzes, you name it, through a members-only learning portal. And this content alone is valued at $1,297. It was $997 in the past, but now that it's launched, everything was officially live online last week. The program was open. The price went up. So $1,297. And just a side note, we're at 12:57 Mountain Time or 2:57 Eastern Time. So I'm going to skip through a whole bunch of stuff here. You can ask me questions, but I want to get into actually showing you the program. So I'm just going to cover the basics to keep us on time. So again, the first thing you get is a $1,297 program. You're not going to pay that, but that's the value for it. Next, you get the Everything You Need template library, which includes a whole bunch of templates, documents, fill-in-the-blank worksheets, planning guides, you name it, so you can execute on everything and clearly communicate. And the whole purpose of why I built all that is so that you can actually communicate everything that you need to communicate, so you can follow along in this, and so that you can have these guides to help you execute on your role and don't have to spend time creating them. Some of the things that I've created actually come from me spending a lot of money and time to get formalized training from some of the branded programs. And what I've learned, I've taken things from all over the place and I've compiled them into very easy to follow templates and guides. So you don't have to do the work. All you have to do is execute. So you get the access to the 8-week program, and then you get access to the Everything You Need template library, which is another $497 value. Again, you're not going to be paying that. And then you get access to me, and this is super cool. So the same thing that you see in the bottom right-hand corner of your screen, that little online button, at any point, if that thing says online, you get access to me. And if you want to set up a phone call, if you want to email me, if you want me to take a look at what you're doing, if you want me to talk to your team, anything you need, you just reach out to me. That's the fastest way, but you can email me, or again, we'll set up calls, whatever you need. I'm there for you. Like, I'm actually dedicating my time to help people go through this. Again, I didn't just slap up a whole bunch of videos and say, good luck. I hope you become a better leader. Don't ask for your money back. I want to help you get there. I want to help you build this thing. And so because of the time commitment that I'm putting in there, that's another value of about just over $2,000. And then there's weekly live workshops and Q&A video calls. And I'm going to skip those right now because I'll show you what that looks like inside the program. That's another $1,297 value added up. And then everybody gets access to my new hiring course that's published on udemy.com. It's brand new. It's the ultimate manager's guide to hiring great people. And this one's big. I spent, as I mentioned, over 8 years in the recruiting industry. And so after spending time helping managers hire people, I think I've got a couple things to say on it. So I compiled all that information into an A to Z guide on how to hire people for managers, not for, this includes, should I work with a staffing agency? What are the pros and cons? This includes, how do I negotiate salary? This includes, how do I do interviews properly? Everything's in there. You'd pay $100 if you were to go there right now, but you get free access within this program. So you get the different program, the template library, access to me, live workshops, the hiring course, which brings our value to $5,333. And if all this program did was teach you how to get in position to lead more effectively, teach you how to build an operating rhythm and set meaningful goals, or teach you how to remove distractions and increase employee engagement, I've got a question for you. If that's all it did, would it be worth $5,000? When you think about the revenue your business could make, when you think about the salaried increases, when you think about the reduction in the time you spend at work, the reduced stress, the more time you have to spend with your family, when you think about all those things, are they worth $5,000? And again, you're not going to pay $5,000, but are they worth it? Now, I had two choices with this program. Choice number one would be sell as many as possible for as cheap as possible. The only issue is if there are too many people in the program, I can't really do one-on-one coaching. I can't be accessible to everybody. I can't add on the value. So the other option was to make this a little bit more expensive, which it is. It requires a higher investment on your part, but it allows me the time and the flexibility and the capability to bring you effective training and coaching. So let me just ask you this. If you were to wake up tomorrow and you were in that better place, you woke up tomorrow and you were an effective leader, you had reached your goals, you were working on things that you didn't think you even had time to work on because you were more effective, like your problems had changed to the good problems, let's say. Like if you had arrived, what would that be worth? How much would you pay to get there? Like that's what we're talking about here. What is the value? So you've already seen that this program is valued at over $5,000, and the public price, which was $997 last week, is now $1,297. Well, your price is $497 because you're on this webinar, sort of. This is the price I've been selling the program at, which is highly reduced. It's going to go up very, very, very soon. But I've been selling this at $497 for people who attend my webinars. However, literally today, so between now and close of business tomorrow, you can access different for $397. So that's like that's actually a 71% discount. And I'll tell you right now, through that link or through the button, there's payment plans as well. So if coming up with $400 immediately, this is US dollars, by the way, if you come up with all that much, if accessing that is a little bit difficult, there's some payment plans. But right now, for the next like 24 hours, you can access this for the lowest price you will ever see, which is really, really cool. And so that brings you to some choices. You've got two choices. You could do nothing with all this information I've given you over the last hour. And what will you get? Nothing. You'll get actually you'll get your download and you can execute on that. But I mean, it's the same as reading a book and trying to turn that into personal success. It's very difficult when you don't have someone holding you accountable and showing you the step-by-step in terms of how. There's a lot of books I read and I feel like there's just things missing. I want someone to hold me by the hand. So you could do nothing and hopefully figure it out on your own. Or choice two, you could take a leap of faith, try it on, and see if it'll work for you. And I can say that because I'm giving you a 30-day, no questions asked, not true, but I'm giving you a 30-day guarantee. So if in 30 days, 4 weeks, that's halfway through the program, you're not satisfied, you can ask for your money back. I will ask you a question though. I'll just ask why. And if you don't want to answer, you don't have to answer it, but I'd be curious because I want to be better. But I'm that confident this is gonna work that I'm willing to say you can try it essentially for free. You could cancel 4 weeks in and good for you. So yeah, that's how confident I am. So the real question is this worth a few minutes of your time to go visit the page, sign up, and start making some changes to how you lead your people or how your managers lead your people? I mean, even if the success you got from this program was only half of what I promised you. I mean, think about the impact to your business if your team was operating only 50% better. Like, what if you were only 50% better at making hiring decisions or at motivating your employees or at leading your people? What if you only saved an hour of time a week? What if your team's productivity only increased by 10%? Is that worth it? Is that worth $397 to accomplish those things? So again, you get access to everything I'm talking about here. But there's more because this is launch week and there's so much cool stuff happening. So you also get a bonus. You get a career planning guide, which if you were with me in February, I ran through a Uncover Your Leadership Potential 5-day challenge. I've taken all of that and comprised it into a 5-step process for you to uncover your leadership potential. like to evaluate yourself, your team, your why, a whole bunch of things, and actually prepare to walk in with this course already knowing kind of where you want to go. So that's bonus number one. Bonus number two is you get to participate in a performance management masterclass where I will teach you. Remember how I said there's only 3 reasons why employees underperform: they don't know, they don't care, or they're not capable. And through this masterclass, I will teach you how to diagnose which reason it is, and then how to address it. And you'll get a complete step-by-step guide to help you do that one-on-one with one of your employees to actually get them performing or get them out if that's ends up being the decision you need to make. And then the final bonus is you get access to a 15-day leadership challenge, which you've got a whole bunch of ways to download it. You can download the audio version, 15 short little 2-minute audio clips, or you can watch the videos and actually download the videos, 2-minute video clips. Or you can sign up and have it emailed to you where every business day for 15 days, you get an email from me. It takes about, I don't know, a minute and a half, 2 minutes to read it. And there's a little challenge, a little thing that'll cost you less than 5 minutes a day to make a drastic change in how you lead your people. So you get that for free as well. And all that said, I'm going to hop into the members area and actually show you what it looks like right now. But first, if you want to write this down, I will email this out as well. But if you want to write this down, just go to yourbestmanager.com/3secrets, and you can download the 4-page document that walks through everything I talked about today and get started. And so with that said, I'm going to try and close out of here, and we're going to see how this works. So the first thing I'm going to do is, so if you were to go to the link, yourbestmanager.com/today, I wanted to show you what it's going to look like. So there's a little video message for me that I put up last week for the early adopters. There's a little story there about how yourbestmanager.com, how I bought the domain. If you go down, any of these buttons will take you directly to the bottom of the page, but you can actually click through each of these elements. So the template library, you can learn more about the template library, or if you want to know more about the coaching, you can click there. There are more about the workshops, which are every single week. You get a live workshop, which I'll show you, or the hiring course, and then the extra bonuses, a little video about the masterclass, and so all this stuff. And if you go down, here's the overview of what's being covered over 8 weeks. And again, you get full lifetime access to this, so you can do it at your own pace. And then the pricing. So there's 3 options here. There's the 70%. I thought it was 71%. Maybe it is 71. Doesn't matter. Right. So normally $5,000, discounted publicly to $1,297 for one-time payment, and $397. Now there are only 10 people I'm going to allow in for $397 here. So you need to be one of the first. Again, this is only open until close of business tomorrow, or there's a couple payment plans you can look at, and then there's some common questions. But once you get in, so once you register, I'll send you a link to get into your username and password. And when you log in, this is what different looks like. Very, very simple. I love this. All your content is on the right, and your entire navigation is on the left. And so you've got a link to the private Facebook group here. You've got a link to check out live workshops. And so if we go there right now, it'll show you, this is actually a copy of the last workshop that I ran through. And the next one is happening on Friday at 1 p.m. We're going to go through another. All these workshops are recorded, and they will be actually kept here in this little area. I'll just close that off. And so what you do when you first come in, there's an overview. That's what you're looking at. You can watch a video, which gives you a tour of this, which I'm doing with you right now. There's a little section for announcements, which tells you when the next live workshop is and anything else you need to know. And then the account I'm in right now has only week 2 showing. But when you first log in, you'll only see week 1. And so you've got the video lesson. So it's a 25-minute video lesson where I walk you through a 4-step process. And then after that, there's some activities where you take the 4-step process. You got access to all your templates here, so you can actually go through. And this is essentially setting the foundation for you to build your 90-day plan, which you'll be executing throughout the process of it. At the end of the first week, you get the week 1 quiz. You complete all of the quizzes that happen through the program. You get a certificate of completion. And when you're done that, you get to move on to week 2. And it's pretty simple. You watch the video lesson. In this case, this was teaching the importance of and how to actually start your foundation for where your team wants to go. So it's about team vision, team mission, team identity, and then attaching all of those things to a what's in it for me mentality from your people. So this is all about, hey, where are we going first before we start talking about positioning? If you got the wrong strategy, you're screwed. Doesn't matter how hard you work. And so then there's the activities for that. There's 4 steps in this one, and there's only 1 template. As the weeks progress, you'll get access to more and more templates in the template library. Right now, there's only 5 because that's all you need to do the week 1 and week 2 lessons. And then there's resources. So you get your 15-day leadership challenge you can access here. There's a little checklist for that. You get the career planning guide, which you can download. You get access to the hiring course for free. This link will give you it for free. And then there's a little promo video there. And then you can click this and it'll take you to the private Facebook group. So a whole bunch of cool stuff there. And then again, in the bottom right-hand corner of your screen, there's always this online button, which if I'm online, it'll say, and you can literally type in there and I will answer your questions. And so with all that said, I'm just going to go back here for a minute, but with all that said, I'm going to take a couple minutes, grab a sip of coffee, and then I'm going to answer some questions. And let me start off by apologizing. We were 10 minutes over the 60-minute mark. I got carried away, and I tried to skip some stuff. But hey, I get fired up about this stuff, and if you're fired up about your career and your leadership, you don't care that it cost you 10 minutes, because spending 10 minutes now is going to save you hours and hours and hours later. So with that said, let me grab some questions. If you have any questions you want answered right now, just prop them into the that little online button. And again, it should go straight to my phone, which it did. Nice. Okay, it's working. Cool. All right, so let me go through some questions real quick. Sort of. It's going to take me a second because my questions just are on a different computer that just died. Give me 2 seconds. But let me start off with some of the ones over the phone. So the first question is, how long do I get access to all the material for? And so it's a pretty simple question, simple answer. You get access to everything within the different members area forever. Literally until if I stop paying my bills and it disappears, then you won't get access anymore. But other than that, you get lifetime access. The program itself is 8 weeks. So it's 8 lessons. But the workshops, they continue constantly every week. There may get to a point where I reduce that down to once a month. I don't want it to be overwhelming when people hop into the members area. But right now, every single week, 13 weeks in, there's a new workshop. And on those workshops, you can join live, you can ask questions. And at any point in time, whether it's 9 months down the road, you have a question about anything that's within the training, you just ask it and I'll help you out. So you get complete access to absolutely everything. Next question here from my phone is, I am a new manager. Is this something I should be doing right away, or should I wait until I have more experience before I register for a program like this? So don't wait. This is actually the best time possible if you're a new manager, especially if you don't have, like if you'd just been promoted, this would be perfect timing. When I started yourbestmanager.com, I built it for first-time managers because this is something that's kind of, I guess, frustrating for me, frustrating for a lot of people. Most leaders don't get, or most managers don't get formal leadership training until they've been managing for 10 years. They get trained sometimes on sales or sometimes on how to do the job, but how to actually lead and motivate and inspire. A lot of people don't get that training. And so I put together yourbestmanager.com so first-time managers have access to resources and training. So if you're a first-time manager, this is perfect for you, because I'm going to show you how to set things up right from the beginning, which is super, super cool. A lot of other people, they're going to have to be fixing things. Like when we talk about building trust, some managers are going to have to rebuild trust. If you're just starting out, there's no broken trust yet. And so you get to build everything from scratch. So it's absolutely for you. And I'm going to actually skip down to another question right now because it's related. The next question is, I have been managing for 10 years. And is this going to be a waste of my time, or am I going to be learning some new things? So I really appreciate that question, because there's a lot of programs out there where you could either pay or get them for free or whatever. And you go through them and you're like, I already knew this. I already knew this. Give me something different. Like, I don't want to see a whole bunch of comparisons of what's the difference between a manager and a leader. It's not helpful, right? And so, hang on one second. I can't obviously type and talk at the same time. So if you are an experienced manager, whether you're 5 years, 10 years, 3 years, doesn't matter. This is going to be helpful for you. There's going to be some rebuilding. Like when we talk about vision, mission, identity, there will be some things that you may already have. And so you can just craft and tailor it. So you're going to have an advantage in some cases, but you're going to have a disadvantage in other cases because you're going to be rebuilding. But no matter what, it's designed to help a manager at any level because this isn't based on experience. It's based on improvement. So wherever you're at, like again, the concept of positioning is not about becoming a perfect manager overnight. It's about going from where you're at to a better place. It's about immediate improvement, even if that's small. And so if you already know a whole bunch of things, that's awesome. Your positioning is going to allow you to capitalize on the knowledge you already know. And if you're a first-time manager, you get to start off by being well-positioned to begin with. So regardless, this is going to be for you. Next question I have is, hey, do you do, hang on, I'm going to read this wrong. Do you offer group options? Okay, so what I think you're meaning is, are there group discounts? Might be a question. The other question might be, what if I have a team of managers I want to put through this? So I'll handle them both. If it depends on how many people you have, if there's going to be a group discount. So what I would say is just reach out to me personally. This is very, very discounted. You're taking a $5,333 program and taking almost $5,000 off of it. 5,333 down to 397. That's a big discount. So if I were you, I would get your managers in right away. Now, if you are talking like 10 or more and you want something customized, or you want me to come out, do some one-on-one or some group consulting and workshops, totally separate. That's not why I built this. I can help you with that, but that's not, this isn't what you're looking for in that case. Reach out to me individually and I would gladly help you with that. Now, the second question was, what do I want to do if I have a team? So if it's a small team, what I would recommend is, like, let's say you have 4 or 5 people, register all 4 or 5 people and do it together. Find your own structure, have weekly meetings to go through things. And I can even join you on those if you want. Again, I'm available. So if you wanted to get 4 or 5 managers in a room, have me on the phone and walk through the 90-day plan, I'll do that. I'll absolutely do that. So yeah, it's just, if you want something a little bit more elaborate and customized, you'll have to reach out to me. Now, this is frustrating. I can't get into my other thing. I've got one more question here, but give me 2 seconds. There we go. All right, I'm in. Okay, I think that's everything for the questions for my phone. All right, so here are the, and you'll see these on the sales page, but here are the top 5 most common questions. If you have anything else, just drop it in the box and I'll answer it before we sign off. But the first question is, what if I am not available for all 8 weeks? What if I miss a week and I can't start right away? So as I mentioned, you get lifetime access. So if you miss a week, no big deal. And if you miss a live workshop, no big deal. They're all recorded and available in the members area. So you get access to everything no matter what. Is what if I miss a live workshop? Just handled that. After that, what kind of results? This is a good one. What kind of results can I expect from the different program? And the answer is, your results are going to be based on the goals that you set at the beginning of the 8-week program. So lesson number 1, I'll just tell you what it is. You're going to build a draft 90-day plan based on 7 key categories of leadership performance. And you're going to look in each of those categories. You're going to evaluate where you're at, where your team's at. And you're going to determine 90 days from now, where is my better place? What could be? And that's it. And then you're going to select 2 or 3, I hope, 3 if you need to, critical areas where you want to really focus for your next 90 days. And you're going to build out a detailed 30-day, 60-day, and 90-day goal that I will help you with and help you work on and execute over the remainder of the program, which means your results are based on your goals. So if you're looking at performance improvement and you have no metrics, your better place may be to have metrics in place and start tracking improved performance. If it's employee engagement, your results are going to look differently. So it's whatever you said at the beginning. That's why I built this thing. I'm not like going to teach you and tell you how to make a presentation at the end of the time. It's not, you're going to start a business at the end of the time. It's not, you're going to learn how to write a massive document for your employees or anything like that. It's, where do you want to go? How do you articulate that and set goals around it? Write it down. How do you build a plan around it? And then how do you actually do the things you need to do to achieve it? And that's where the shoulder to shoulder leadership comes in. That's where the positioning comes in. That's where the operating rhythms come in. That's where building trust comes in. That's where team vision, mission, identity comes in. That's where everything kind of comes in. Personally, professionally, you name it, it's about your goals. So hopefully that answers that question. I love that question. What happens after the 8 weeks? Nothing. You can go through it again if you want. If you do not complete all of the 8 quizzes, you won't if you've only completed 7 quizzes and you're like 13 weeks in, complete the last quiz and then you'll get a certificate of completion. But you get access to everything. So if you need a template, go in and download it. If you want to access one of the resources, go in and access it or download it. If you want to watch the next workshop, go in and do that. If you want to talk to someone in the community, go in and do that. You get access to everything. And then the last question, this one's a tricky one. And so it's going to be dependent on who you are and where you're at right now. And I'm going to actually split it into 2 parts. So the question is, what if I'm not a manager yet? Is this program for me? And so I'm going to answer it and again, 2 sides. If you are the individual, the producer, and you have not become a manager yet, I'm going to answer it for you. But if you are an HR manager listening or watching, if you are a senior manager and you have someone on your team who is not yet promoted, you may be wondering, should they go in this program? So first of all, if you have not been promoted yet, the answer is maybe. If you are anticipating a promotion very soon, go in it. This is going to teach you how to build the foundation. If your big goal is to get promoted and there are opportunities to get promoted in the next 90 days, join the program. Your 90-day plan is just going to be about getting to that spot and building the right foundation for when you get there. Now, if you have no idea if you can even get promoted, if there's no opportunities for promotion, if there are no management opportunities coming your way, if you're unemployed right now and looking for a job, it's probably not the right timing. But reach out to me and I'll help you figure that out. Because I don't want to tell you no, but I also don't want you to get in the program and waste your money. Okay. The flip side of that is if you are an HR manager or a senior manager and you have someone on your team you're planning on promoting, depends on your timeline. If they're going to be promoted in the next 90 days, use this as their foundation. This is awesome. Use this to help them get prepared. At the end of the 8 weeks, they will be 2/3 of the way through their 90-day plan, and they can execute everything as a member of your team. It's a great way to give people stretch assignments and to give them the foundations they need so that at the end of the program, they get promoted. Like that could be all right, you're getting promoted. 90 days from today, execute on your 90-day plan that you're going to build. Execute on this 8-week program. You complete this program, you're in. Or promote them now and have this be the first thing that they do when they're starting out. So that is the last question. If there are any other questions you have at any point in time, just send me an email to jamie@yourbestmanager.com, and I'd be happy. I would be happy to help you out. And again, if you want to join different, it's the first 10 people get that crazy good deal of $5,000 off. Now that I say it that way, maybe I should have raised it a little bit. Anyway, it doesn't matter. And I'm joking, by the way. I want this to be accessible, but you've got until close of business tomorrow, or you need to be one of the first 10 people to access it for $397, or at the 3 monthly payments or the 12 monthly payments. After that, after close of business tomorrow, the price just goes up. It's not going up like a crazy lot, but I can't discount it super low for forever. So there's only a few spots that are going to be available, and this is to reward those who are ready to take action and want to take their people to a better place. Other than that, thank you so much for your time. You can look out for an email from me where I will send you that PDF download, so you can take the training you got today and reference back to it. And other than that, have a fantastic day, and I will see you later.